afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to everyone. My name is Janetta Candelario, and I am a faculty member in the Department of Sociology, Latin American Latino Studies, the study of women and gender, and the Community Engagement and Social Change concentration. I'm also a Smith alum, class of 1990, who lived in Parsons House, Sessions House, and what used to be called the Freedmen's Houses. And apropos of today, I was part of the students who organized in the 1980s to make Cromwell Day happen. So every year that we have this celebration, I feel especially pleased to be participating in it in this capacity. And specifically today, I'm here as the editor of the journal Meridians, which was founded at Smith College 23 years ago, and will be celebrating its quarter-century anniversary in October of 2025. So it's really quite an honor to represent Meridians and to introduce you today to some of the work that we've been doing for the past 23 years. So to give you a sense of what we're going to be doing during our workshop, I'm going to share with you a brief history of the journal Meridians. I'm going to ask you, and in fact, let's all do it right now. You have your phones in your hands anyway. Follow us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, etc. And you'll want to follow us because we have a very active social media presence. I'm going to ask you also to think about signing up for our newsletter, which you will find a tab for in our website, which comes out monthly, and we'll keep you posted on what we're doing both on and off campus. And then we'll be introducing you to the person who we're here to honor specifically today, in addition to Tita Cromwell and her niece Yalie Cromwell, this year's Elizabeth Alexander Creative Writing Award winner. So let me start first with a little bit of history about the journal Meridians. Who knows anything about the journal? Anybody ever heard of us? See, that's why we do these events, because we're of and at Smith. We were founded at Smith by 4 faculty members, and we've been here for quite a long time. So first, the team. As I said, I'm Janetta Candelario, and joining me today is another Smith alum, Yalie Einbeiner. Yalie, can you stand up, please? Class of 2010, who is the editorial office manager for Meridians. She is our only full-time staff person, and really in many ways the heartbeat of Meridians, who takes care of just about everything for us. So I really do want to say thank you again, Yalie, for all the work you've been doing. I also want to introduce you to Elle Longpre, who's also a Smith alum. Elle, do you mind coming up? Has been working with us since February. Tomorrow will be Elle's last day, and I just want to take another opportunity to say thank you again, Elle, for all that you've done this year for us in your capacity as editorial assistant. Also with us is Eliana Mercedes, who's a Ph.D. student in sociology from UMass Amherst, and has been working with us as editorial assistant as well. So thank you. Also joining us, who you'll see a photo of, but they're all here, so I'm going to ask them to stand up, is this year's student intern team, who are Quigley Fellows and Stride Fellows. Sarah Johnson, Cosme, by the way, Smith, you to go ahead and think about applying, and they can tell you all about the work they've been doing and what it would mean to be an intern at the journal. Joining me today also is my colleague from the Department of Africana Studies, Tracy Ann Wint, who is also a member of our Creative Writing Advisory Board and will actually be running the workshop that you came here to participate in today. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Tracy Ann in a moment. And finally, our guest of honor is Yalie Saweda Kamara. You'll learn more about again from Tracy Ann, but is this year's Elizabeth Alexander Creative Writing Award winner and Cincinnati's Poet Laureate. So we're very pleased to have Yalie here. Our own collectively. Okay, so we have a lot of good stuff planned for you. Very quickly, Meridians was conceptualized by 5 Smith College faculty members, really beginning in the early 1990s, but it was when Ruth Simmons became president of the college that this idea that the 5 faculty members had, Elizabeth Alexander, who was one of the founders of this poetry center, and whom, as you all may know, was also a National Poet Laureate who wrote Praise Song for the New Day, the poem that was for President Obama's first inauguration. She's also the president of the Mellon Foundation. So we seek to honor her for those critical roles that she played at Smith in establishing poetry as a critical part of the knowledge that we produce here, but also the role she played in establishing Meridians. Along with a professor of sociology and what used to be called Afro-American Studies is now called Africana, Ann Arnett Ferguson. My former professor, Nancy Saporta Sternbach, who was a professor in the Spanish department and was the founder of Latin American and Latino Studies here at Smith, and Susan Van Dyne, who founded the Women's Studies program, now called Study of Women and Gender, at Smith College, and was a nationally recognized scholar and leader in the move to establish women's studies throughout the United States. Those 5 faculty members, who were multi-ethnic and multiracial and interdisciplinary, realized that most women's studies journals at the time, which there were only a handful because women's studies itself was a fairly new discipline, they were largely, not surprisingly, centered on the experience of white women, right? Women of color, what we would call minority women at the time, women of the global South, what we say now, used to say the third world, really weren't included. And when they were, it was a kind of add-on and mix sort of model, right? Let's have some representation, but not really centering the experiences or the knowledge of women of color in the US and globally. So these 5 faculty members recognized this as a lack that needed to be addressed. And they thought Smith College is the place that can address this, especially under the leadership of Ruth Simmons, who was very much a visionary, and whose motto was, if you can imagine it, I'll fund it. Find the money for it. And that is exactly what she did. She secured a Ford Foundation grant that funded the first 5 years of the journal, the staffing of it, which is critical, an editorial office manager, a managing editor, a space, and paying for the press to produce the actual journal. And our first press was Wesleyan University Press. Subsequently, it was Indiana, and now we're published by one of the most highly ranked presses in the United States, Duke University Press. So this is something that you really should be proud of. It is exceptional for a scholarly journal to be housed at an undergraduate liberal arts institution. No one does that besides us, okay? And the fact that we're doing that for an intersectional feminist, transnational intersectional feminist journal really is something for each of you, for all of us to be proud of. So this is why we want you to know about it. Ruth's quote from issue 1, volume 1, women of color have many histories, and these histories can be brought into full and useful relief by providing opportunities for these women to speak for themselves. And speak we do, in every genre, as scholars, as poets, as artists, as performers, as activists, etc. And the journal has devoted itself for 23 years to giving a home to those voices. After the founding editorial collective put together volume 1, number 1, in which I had the good fortune of appearing, my very first publication was in volume 1, number 1 of Meridians, because I had just joined the faculty and they tapped me for my article, which was very exciting. Immediately after that, we hired Kumkum Bhavnani, who's an internationally recognized sociologist who does work on the prison abolition movement and on critical media studies. And she shepherded the journal through the first 2 years. She is now a faculty member at UC Santa Barbara. Following Kumkum, we had Professor Miriam Shansi, who's also an internationally recognized scholar of the Haitian diaspora and Caribbean literary studies. And she was with Meridians for 2 years. And then finally, Paula Giddings, who was the longest serving editor, 12 years, who many of you I think should know is one of the founders basically of Black women's studies in the United States, whose work is really canonical. And these 3 editors really helped to establish Meridians as a leading voice in feminist scholarship and specifically intersectional feminist scholarship. So it was really my great honor to take the baton from Paula when she retired in 2017 and step into this role. And one of my key agendas is to really make Meridians visible on campus, nationally and internationally. So with my team, we spend a lot of time doing promotional work. And now I'm going to ask each of you to be part of that ambassador team, okay? And to tell everyone you know about Meridians, okay? To come to our office, which is newly inaugurated at 22 Green Street, right next to Pizza Mart, right? Pass by, we're there from normal business hours, 8:30 to 4:30, 5:30 basically. You can read the journal there. You can read it on Project Muse, and you can read it at Duke University Press's website. We have a phenomenal editorial advisory board comprised of 5 college faculty members and the Duke UNC Research Triangle faculty members. All of these folks are internationally renowned scholars of feminism, race, and transnationalism in some combination. If you go to our website, you'll be able to click on each of their faces and find out more about them. And I really invite you to do that. We also have a phenomenal creative writing advisory board, anchored by our very own Nat Donovan, the director of the Poetry Center, and our fabulous colleagues in Africana, Tracy Ann Wint and Daphne Lameau, a new colleague from UMass, Abigail Javidnoy, our beloved Floyd Chung, right? And of course, Zitzi Jaji from Duke. And it's this board that juries the Elizabeth Alexander Creative Writing Award, which receives hundreds of submissions, by the way, every year. So the winning of this award really is quite competitive. And here are our lovely interns again, who I've introduced you to. And again, I invite you to chat with them afterwards. Did you all follow me yet? Sure? Okay, good. Thank you. And just very quickly to let you know about what we recently published. The spring issue was guest edited by 2, again, nationally renowned scholars of Black Europe, Nana Osei Kofi, who does work on the Black Netherlands, and Shirley-Ann Tate, who does Black British research. This issue on BIPOC Europe is available for free until December 31st. Now this is a really key point, not open access, it's free. So that if you were to call your auntie in Philadelphia who's not an academic, she could go into the Duke University Press website and download this entire issue, okay? And I really want you to know that and circulate that again in your social media, because we want this work to be available to people, even as we're also a scholarly academic journal that is revenue generating, right? So every year I've been able to negotiate with DUP that they make one issue available for free for 3 to 6 months. And I try to pick the issue that is most global so that people who are outside the US and who are outside the academy can access this work, okay? And that's really part of our activist mission, right? It's also part of what we do. We want the knowledge to transform society, not just inform society. So BIPOC Europe is available for free. The current issue, which just came out a few weeks ago, we called it Mosaic. It's a phenomenal collection. There are table of contents flyers somewhere outside there. And as you'll see, it is incredibly timely because it covers feminism, race, transnationalism from Afghanistan to Turkey, from mainland US to Puerto Rico, from Mexico to Canada, okay? It really is an incredible collection. And again, I invite you to go take a look at it. And read our catalog more broadly, which is on our website, to support your own work as scholars and students, right? To cite this work and so forth. Forthcoming in the spring is an issue that I'm also exceptionally proud of, Indigenous Feminisms Across the World, which I co-guest edited with Bashuli Deb, who will be a visiting scholar here in the spring and April when we'll be doing a book launch for that issue. So keep an eye out for that announcement, and I invite you to come back. And then finally, next fall, we're producing an issue on transnational feminist vistas. So lots of very timely stuff. And I'll just say one more thing about the 23-1. Not coincidentally, because it is an Indigenous feminist concern, but coincidentally timely, given what's happening in this moment, the cover art for that issue is by a Palestinian artist in exile. And there are several pieces that address Palestinian experiences for Indigenous feminisms. And we have, likewise, a piece in the fall 2022 issue on feminist mournings called Proactive Grief on Palestinian Mourning, and an issue in our 20th anniversary collection on the right of return. This is just a little bit about Elizabeth Alexander, who I've already mentioned. And this tells you, and again, QR code, which is outside, about the Creative Writing Award competition, which is also open right now. Okay? Anyone can submit to this award until December 31st. Anyone. The winners have ranged from poet laureates, who we did not know was a poet laureate because it's all double anonymized, right? So in other words, it's the text, not the person, that we are assessing, to a Smith undergraduate who won the award for prose last year, to a Yale undergraduate who won the award for prose 2 years before that. In other words, one of you could be the next winner. So submit your work, tell your friends, right? And spread the word, again, about this award, which includes, as you will hear from Yalie, a week-long residency at Smith College, as well as a cash prize, a signed chapbook of Elizabeth Alexander's praise song for the new day, and a little gift bag, which you'll see us give to Yalie in a minute. Thank you. All right, it is now my real pleasure to hand the mic over to my colleague and friend, Tracy Ann Wint, who is an assistant professor of Africana Studies, who earned her doctorate in African and African Diasporic Studies in 2019 from the University of Texas at Austin, and holds a micro-master's degree in Instructional Design and Technology from the University of Maryland Global Campus. A Black feminist and critical race studies scholar, Professor Wint is currently writing a book titled Reviving Paradise, Tourism and Making the Jamaican Nation, that explores the ways a neo-colonial tourism industry extends the race and gendered hierarchies of the plantation in the modern Anglophone Caribbean. She is the author of peer-reviewed articles on the Tambourine Army, a radical Jamaican women's rights organization, and on mothering in the time of Black Lives Matter and social media. She herself is also a published poet and experienced media producer. So please join me in handing the microphone over to Tracy.
Thank you so much. I'm a little shorter, so I've got to shift things down like this. Thank you so much for this wonderful invitation. And I'm truly excited about this event and all of the work that we will do together. I'm excited that I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Yalie, whose work we will engage, and I'm truly enamored. Switch it over there. Okay. So Yalie Saweda Kamara is a Sierra Leonean-American writer, educator, and researcher from Oakland, California. So she's probably cold like I am. Kamara is the current Cincinnati and Mercantile Library Poet Laureate and a 2023 Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow. She is, which is huge. She is the author of the full-length collection, Beech, which is forthcoming and available for pre-order. Winner of the 2022 to 2023 Jake Adam York Prize. She is also the author of the chapbooks, A Brief Biography of My Name, and When the Living Sing, and editor of the anthology, What You Need to Know About Me, Young Writers on Their Experience of Immigration. Kamara earned a Ph.D. in Creative Writing and English Literature from the University of Cincinnati, and she's assistant professor of English at Xavier University and resides in Cincinnati. I will also note that these books with these amazing titles are for sale right outside. So once we are done here with our own little exercise, I encourage you to go and flick through and purchase. I also want us to talk a little bit about American Beech. There are the books, and actually, you know, the Ross Gay's quote. What do you call that? The blurb that you get, the blurb, the wonderful blurb. And since Ross Gay was here with us just a few weeks ago, I'll read Ross Gay's blurb. I love this book. I mean, goddamn. I love this book. I love how hard it tries, how much it loves, how it reaches and wonders, and how much it bears its bewilderment. I love how it sings and how it talks. I love what it does with its hurt and its sorrow and its loss and its longing. I love, maybe most of all, that Bisedu is a prayer for all of us, which Yalie Saweda Kamara reminds us a book can sometimes be. if that is not an endorsement, I really don't know what is. And so I encourage you, when we're done here, to make your pre-order and engage the other works. And then thinking about American Beech, which is what we're here celebrating today. It is the winner of the 2023 Elizabeth Alexander Creative Writing Award for Poetry. And I'm going to read for us the description that one of the board members gave for American Beech in deciding that this was the winner for the award, describing it as an extraordinary poem, tapping into the latent wordplay of its title, gorgeous imagery like the reef as a raft, and a clean, strong sense of form. It is a perfect example of what a poem can do in a relatively small space if one exploits the power of metaphor, sound, and phrasing. So I'm going to invite Yalie up to read the poem for us, and then she and I will have a little discussion about it, because I have so many questions, and I will try and keep them short so we have time for exercise afterwards.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? It's such an honor and a pleasure to be here. I left my notes over there, so I'm just gonna read the poem, right? Just read the poem. I have many thanks, and I'll give my thanks later, but many thanks. I'm so happy to be here. And I am cold, it's true. I took a taxi 1 block yesterday. It's very cold. But it's warm in here, and it's been warm during my whole time at Smith, so thank you so much. So this poem is called American Beech. I don't mind when she approaches me, a stranger on North Walnut Street, who only tells me about what she sees while reaching 2 fingers in to retrieve it from my hair. She squints a bit, fights the menace of hot silver Hoosier sun, and relieves me of a problem that for her rests too close to me. A deep plunge into my curls. I wait to see how far she goes, and because I miss the hands of the women I know, I think I'd even let her hook her unfamiliar fingers into the lace of my wig, but she stops short of me feeling completely like home. It is an American beech leaf, green as opposite of red. She pulls this weightless raft from inside the crown of me. In small town, downtown, there is a woman who does not know my name, but calls herself my mirror, haptic Grace. She holds the leaf to my face, then releases it to flow slowly down the vertical river of air to the pewter concrete. I don't mind when she approaches me, a stranger on North Walnut Street, taking a leaf, leaving her fingerprints to sing and sing and sing, so close to our skin, until I hear my own voice say, I feel you too. How mighty, the God portal of human touch.
Before you begin your actual conversation, I'd like to formally present you with your award and to thank you again for sending your work to the Meridians and for coming here this week. Open hours tomorrow at Meridians at 22 Green Street from 10 to 12, right, also. So you'll have another opportunity in addition to this one to have a conversation with you now. Hand it over.
I'm going to grab the microphone, and then we can sit, because standing and talking is awkward. Awkward enough on my own. There we go. Are we well positioned over here? We're also sharing a mic. Can you all see and hear and all of those things? Thank you so much for indulging these questions that I have jotted down here, Yalie. I want to start with the title. And the adjudicator who read the poem, in that quote that I read, spoke a bit about the title and its wordplay. I also just came across from the Brittany Cooper talk and thinking about world making and the ways that seems to exist also in this title, which places us in your world. It kind of drops us into this location. And then I'm thinking about the other ways that you place us, thinking of North Walnut Street and all of these kinds of descriptors. Titles are really interesting things because they often come at the very end, but then for the reader are the first kind of introduction to the piece and to you and to your work. And so I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about the work that this title is doing, American Beech.
Thank you. So
I'm sorry, can I ask you guys to move one to the wall, actually, because I think it's a little hard for folks on this side. Yeah. There, thank you.
So I'm from a big city, and I moved to a smaller city in the Midwest, and I learned a lot about birds and trees and nature living in Indiana, and I was on a kind of quest to figure out what sort of leaf she pulled from her hair, so I looked up a bunch of leaves to see which one was closest to what I recall. So that's how I found it. But in thinking about the thematic of someone touching your hair when you're not expecting it, the title reads as a double entendre, so people also hear American Bitch. And so so there's a lot of like, oh, what's gonna happen in this poem? And dear reader, it ends fine, right? But I think it reads as like actual identification of a place for me. I'm very tied to places and places that I want to feel like my home. I think all I write about is home. But I think the title I didn't know was doing the work of sort of creating this sort of maybe foreboding sort of feeling. I was working more from fact, and I think sometimes there is a poem that's like thinking about emotion, the title itself.
Thank you so much for that. Thinking about the ways that you're working from fact, you give us lots of really small, wonderful facts throughout the poem. There's a way that you manage to extend this very small quotidian moment into something that is so wonderful and holds so much. The poem itself, I'm sure, the time that it takes you to read the poem is longer than the time that it would have taken her to remove this, this leaf from your hair. But you do it in such a beautiful and profound way. There's the two fingers, the squinting, the sun, the green leaf. It's the kind of thing that requires a particular kind of noticing and slowing down that often we don't allow ourselves. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your process. What happened in the writing of this poem, the before and after, and the sitting in the moment?
Thank you. So I wrote this poem about maybe 5 years after it happened, but I was always so touched by that moment, and I'll hold on to an idea for a while. And I was so touched by that moment. I wrote this poem in January of 2020, so before everything happened. And I think I kept on coming back to that moment because I think that exchange mattered so much to me because I was living in a new city and I was encountering sorts of lonelinesses that I didn't realize I was encountering. And so for someone to take the time to pull this leaf out, it felt like someone was from my family. And I do believe that we can become kin in an instant, like with an act of kindness. And so it felt like that. And it almost felt like this woman who I'd never seen after that was kind of getting me ready for the world in a way. And so that's what that felt like. And it felt like I was being prepared for this new step in my life. And so that stuck with me. And I think I was trying to recall everything that happened that made that moment so special. It's a very short moment, but it played in my mind over and over and over again about that sort of risk of engaging with a stranger and like the best of what can happen in those moments. And I wanted to honor that.
The best of what can happen in those moments. I really love how you phrased that. And also thinking of this as a poem from the before times that means so much to us now, right? Because we've gone through these years of no touch. And you end it so beautifully. I have it here, the final line, the God portal of human touch. So filled with awe, I think, especially now in this moment that every time we encounter someone who's like, do we shake hands? Do we hug? Do we, I allowed to be in your space? And even though we're coming out of that, there's still something that feels fraught about touch. And I'm thinking of that in relationship to the kind of double entendre of the title, and then what it means to touch a black woman's hair.
Yes.
And so I wanted us to explore a little bit what that means in that moment. You go through you might almost let her under the lace of the wig, and how you manage to craft something that can feel so violent for so many of us, especially as Black women, the touching of the hair into instead a moment that's so beautiful.
Absolutely. I have had touches that were like, what is going on, right? And so that's happened before, but I understood the intention of her touch. And there's something about that exchange where like I could intuit what was happening. I felt safe with her. And I thought back and forth about how I wanted to describe her, and I decided to leave her race out of the poem. And I think, and I don't mean this in a post-racial way, but I think I was more invested in like human to human, woman to woman. And so it transcended to me the race of the person who helped me. And so it is something that I think about. I wanted to kind of create a poem also where like the Black woman is okay in the end. She remains in integrity, and this is not another tragic story. Instead, she's uplifted by this exchange. And so that's kind of what I wanted to think about, and also like thinking about like the God portal of human touch, like something about the majesty of touch and exchange and trust as something that I wanted to capture also. But I did think about that, and I think I would like to believe that I can feel when it's going to be okay, devoid of sort of like thinking about particular demographical distinctions.
Yeah, there's something I think that's so powerful about that. It's a move of being able to step into this overarching sense of joy and trust, and then saying, what does it mean to trust others in my community? What does it mean to allow that space for engagement and for that kind of human touch, which I think also requires us to step into ourselves a little bit. And with that, I'm going to ask just for one last indulgement of a question. Do you have any advice for maybe all of us, as students, as writers, as livers in the world, who's noticing things for the process of writing and thinking, and maybe also just living? Big one. No pressure. No pressure.
Don't stop your poem before you start it. I think I spent too long being like, this is not going to work. This is not going to work before I even gave myself a chance to write something. And so if you remove this sort of pressure about perfection and just be okay with communicating something, even it feels imperfect or it doesn't feel like where you want to land, I just think that there's so much to be celebrated about the effort and the attempt. And so my advice would be just give yourself the opportunity to create. I think, and being also being in spaces that allow for that. I mean, it was so wonderful being at Spitfire last night. The Spitfire folks in the Spitfire representation. I see you, Maya. It was so lovely to see folks coming out in the cold. It was cold. It was so cold. And wanting to commune and write and to uplift each other and to experiment. And so just give yourself the opportunity to experiment and find folks that will welcome your growth and not tell you that you're doing something wrong as a creator.
Leans right back into community. Thank you so much for that, Yalie. I'm going to give some space for you to share some more of your work.
How's everyone doing? Good? Good. I'm so pleased to be here. And I feel even, I'll put the time on. I can be that person. It's so wonderful to be here. And I am going to read a few poems. Before I read those poems, I have many, many people to thank for me being here. It's first of all such an honor and a pleasure to be here with the Smith College community to commemorate Cromwell Day. I remember listening to the recording from last year that Professor Candelario shared with me, and she asked if I maybe wanted to be here at this time, and I was so happy that it synced up, and I remember getting chills from listening to the programming and hearing Professor Went's voice and then seeing her face on Zoom and being like, oh, it's the same voice, you know? So that was really, really wonderful, and so I'm thankful to Meridians, Feminism, Race, Transnational of Smith College, particularly to Professor Janetta Candelario and Ali Einbinder, who have created this wonderful, personalized, and engaging residency week for me. I also want to thank Professor Went for all you've done to create this wonderful workshop and convening and spending time time with my work. I also want to extend my gratitude to El Longpre, Eliana Mercedes, and the Meridians intern team, Isa, Asetu, and Emma, for all of the touches that you've made to make this day something that I will remember for a very long time. So I'm just full of gratitude. So thank you all. I also want to just think about some of the poems I'm going to be reading. I just wanted to share that thinking about the theme of finding joy on your journey to racial justice. I'm thinking about that theme and wanted to read some poems that kind of put me in the mind of that. And so, I'm sorry. Okay, there we go. I'm going to be reading some poems about my family, and when I say family, I mean blood and chosen. As you can see, that stranger on the street is a chosen family for me, and the living and dearly departed, and thinking about moments that tie and transform us. And so I'm going to read first a poem about my mother, who is a very particular woman. She's smart and sassy, and I always say that she's right like 98% of the time, but I don't tell her that. And so this poem is based on things that she said, and I dedicate it to anybody who is first generation in this room, who is an immigrant mother, who may understand. Who may understand. I'll just leave it at that. So this is from my mother, Agatha Kamara. I hope her ears are burning in California. Mother's rules, and I will say everything here is all true. I haven't made up anything in this poem. Mother's rules for my mother. 1, if you see me praying in the living room, never sit in front of me. You are not God. 2, when we go to a restaurant and I don't know any foods on the menu, never order me a meal that is spelled with silent letters. I came to eat, not to explore. 3, you didn't make food. No, God did. You cooked food. Watch your English, watch your faith. 4, your Creole is offensive. When you speak, you sound like Shabba Ranks. Your accent is always people that know how much that hurts. Shabba Ranks. Your accent is funny, but keep practicing. It is the only way we will be able to gossip in peace while at the supermarket. 5, try to learn the language of your lover and his family. They could be smiling to your face and getting ready to trade you for 6 goats and 3 mules during your first trip to their homeland. She really said that to me. 6, if anyone stares at you for too long, more than 5 seconds, start speaking an imaginary language while maintaining eye contact. They will be the first to look away. 7, consider the consequence of purchasing human hair wigs, secondhand clothing, and used furniture. Maybe you will feel beautiful and also save money, but you never know whose bad luck or misfortune will be sitting on your head, body, or in the home in which you sleep. Buy what you can truly afford. 8, your father's Muslim, so you are too. 1989 to 1993. I am Christian, so you are too. 1993 to 2012. I am Catholic now, but you keep praying. 2012 to present. 9, you laugh at me now, like I laughed at my mother, like she laughed at hers, like your daughters will laugh at you, and I will live long enough to forgive your folly. 10, just make sure to pray. Amen. I'm going to read is about my nephew Elijah, he was 3 when I wrote this poem. He's now 15, and he used to use the word black like as an adjective to describe things that are cool. I think that children are the best poets on earth because they just do so much with language that we forget how to over time. And so this is a poem based on his conception of the world, what black meant to him, and kind of what it taught us it could mean to us as well. Sweet Baby Fabulous. And a fabulous, as you all know, is either someone who writes fables or is a liar. One of the two. Sweet Baby Fabulous. In the 3rd year of Elijah's life, black olives were black and green olives were black too. Even the bubbling pot of sunset-colored palm oil and plaisas was given the name Black Soup. He so adored Toli that he'd watch Nihao Kailan every noon. Toli was no longer a koala, but now his favorite black cartoon. Black was the boy Elijah, and his finger tugging at heaven for fire. Black were his dimpled knuckles when he pressed his hands to pray. Black was the hue of the peace that he desired, the anointing oil he rubbed on all that made him smile throughout the day. Black is what he called the world because he heard it from his black mother. Black is what he called the universe to show us how much he loved her. Black were the rainbows, the full moon, and the deep nightfall. Black were the rivers and sky. God was as black as the autumn breezes call. Black was as crisp as the crust of sweet potato pie. Black was a brilliant, pulsing light, too bright to be ignored. Black sings the joyful chest from which all things have been unmoored. Black is the sight of a little boy finding his reflection in all things. Black is what a little boy called us, so what else could we sing? If black is the chorus, an eternal echo of this one-word song, then what is the color in the hollow of the mouth that would tell him that all he's living is wrong? So the next poem I'm going to read is a poem that I just want to give a little bit of a preface to. It's called Memorializing Nia Wilson 100 Blessings. And so this is a little bit of a note about this poem. While my beloved hometown of Oakland, California has deeply informed my character, my passions, perspectives, and values, at its worst, it's also a city that serves as a site of betrayal. When I think about that betrayal, I'm often thinking about Nia Wilson, an 18-year-old black woman who was senselessly murdered on the city's MacArthur BART station, a train stop I used twice a day for my commute to work for years. In addition to noticing the media's initial reluctance to call what happened to Nia Wilson a racially motivated incident, I was also disturbed by the media's overwhelming insistence on calling the details of her murder and not about who she was in this life. In the spirit of honoring her and channeling my own agency in shaping the narrative of Black people, I've created a poetic form called the Nia. Consisting of 100 blessings, its objective is to lean into the restoration, reclamation, and resurrections of memories of Black life that fade out of their rightful place in the public consciousness. And so this poem is a Nia, named after Nia Wilson. It's for her memory. Bless your 18 years. Bless the 19th, if even spent from an Oakland in the hereafter. Bless an unnamed eternity. Bless the stibnite hue of flight. My good God, bless the anima and everything in and around the body. Bless the mandible, the deep ecru of bone, the 32 teeth. Bless the sepia organ, the skin. Bless the soft parts, the cheek, the neck, the mouth, the tongue, the voice. Bless the vessel. Bless your origin story, the magenta hollow of your mother's womb and the chestnut tint of your father's hand. Bless the site of desecration, 37.8291 North, 122.2670 West. Bless you, whole again. Bless Oakland, great again. Bless Blackness, magnificent again. Bless the overlooked, the phenotype undamned. Bless technology and its digital griots. Bless collective memory, the hashtag, the electronic archive, the way it chronicles some sort of you. Bless your unfinished business, your dream of being an EMT, how the vocation's irony pushes against your death. Bless too the joy, your town business style. Bless all the time it took you to get dressed for even a trip to the corner store. Bless the annoying things we do that create the fullness of our legacy. Bless the crown that holds the baby hairs. Bless the nimble toothbrush and the firm grip. Bless the cloud-thick gel. Bless the faithful bangled wrist. Bless the cinematic motion of swirls on your edges. Bless the waves cascading off the cliffs of your temples. Bless your art everlasting. Bless you unshook as obsidian. Bless you unshook as onyx. Bless the scripture of your name. Bless the regal thread stitched into each letter who you are and what you have been called into. Bless Nia, meaning purpose or intention. Bless Wilson, meaning son of will, fate, or destiny. Bless you whole again, Nia Dene Wilson. Bless the circuitous path of hemoglobin. Bless the blood and its peripatetic flow. Bless your 5 brothers and 2 sisters. Bless Tifa, who struck by blade 2 held you in her arms. Bless her words, I got you, baby, I got you. Bless the tears, the wet gospel of one sister into another. Bless the unknown. Bless its swarthy light crunch underfoot. Bless the sudden hour. Bless the quiet minute. Bless the spinning second. Bless minutia. Bless the overlooked. Bless the crescendo whisper calling you home. Bless your new pulse point and the wonder of its music. Bless its seraphic sound here, after, like a tambourine slapped under river water. Bless the overlooked. Bless even the shadow under the blessing. Bless the heart, that platinum star. Bless its tumble. Bless its spill. Bless its slip. Bless the ache of ache. Bless the coming. Bless the homegoing. Bless the echo. Nia, Nia, Nia. Bless the fleeting. Bless the fleet you join, Nia. Bless your barefoot crossing through the firmament. Bless the months later. Bless the reckoning. Bless the courtroom. Bless the trial. Bless all who suffer the weight of witness. Blessed escape. Blessed sleep. Blessed rest. Bless the wound and the tourniquet. Bless the vanishing cicatrix. Bless it backwards from Tia's neck. Bless it backwards from your torso. Bless you whole again. Bless the breath, the loss, the breath. Bless the broken time. Bless the MacArthur Bart Station vigil. The taped posters, scattered lilies and roses and emptied Henny bottles. Bless the candles melting pools of incarnadine wax on pavement. Bless their Meyer lemon bright sparks. Bless the steady enough hands to light the candles. Bless the flicker, the flicker, the flicker, the thicker fire. Bless the thicker fire. Bless the flame that blazes. Bless all that holds what does not burn. Bless what it does not burn. Bless the heat. Bless its rise. Bless your ascent, my God. Bless the child. Bless all whom we pull from dirt. Bless an unnamed eternity. Bless this new color of the soul, its mighty incandescence. Bless all whom we hoist high enough to touch the sun. Bless all whom we hoist high enough to touch to be delivered, high enough to be received. Bless the sky, open, Nia, Nia, Nia. Thank you. The last poem I'm going to read is a poem about my mother, who's one of my main muses. And this poem is Isadu's, it's like the title track, title poem of the collection. And so, yeah, I'll just go ahead and read it, and I dedicate it to my mother and to everyone in this room. Isadu. While sipping coffee in my mother's Toyota, we hear the bird call of two teenage boys in the parking lot. One says, Isadu, the other returns as they reach for each other. Their cupped handshake pops like the first fat firecrackers of summer. Their fingers shimmy as if they're solving a Rubik's Cube just beyond our sight. Moments later, their schwins head in opposite directions. My mother turns to me, revealing the milky John Waters mustache and foam on her upper lip. Waiting that Isadu, not English? She asks, tickled by this tangle of new language. All right, be safe, dude. I pull apart each syllable like string cheese for her. Oh yeah, Demnango Paddy, she smiles, surprisingly broken by the tenderness expressed by what half my family might call thugs. Bisadu, 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 we chirp in the car the nightly into our phones after I leave California. Bisadu, she says, as she softly muffles the rattling of my bones in newfound sobriety. Bisadu, I say years later, her response made raspy by an oxygen treatment at the ER. Bisadu, we whisper to each other across the country, like some word from deep in a somewhere too newborn pure for the outdoors, but we saw those two boys do it in broad daylight under a decadent, ruinous sun. Bisadu, Bisadu, we say, Bisadu, and split one more for the road, for all the struggle, tumble, drown. Bisadu, we say, to get on the good foot. We get off of the phone, tight like the bulbous air of two palms that have just kissed. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I am rocked and floored in all of the best ways. Thank you, and I'm excited to read through the work that you have in your books here. We have a big task here, because we now have to follow that. But what we're doing is a collective work that in many ways will riff off Yalie's poem, American Beech. And I think the gift that we have here today is thinking about the ways that poetry, as Audre Lorde says, illuminates our life, right? Shows us a way to think about our everyday actions, the things that we think of as quotidian is not really all that important, but also are the very most important things that we encounter, right? So what I'm gonna have us do is write a poem collectively together in these next few minutes, thinking through American Beech, which you all might have access to here. Maybe you can pull up and you can see a little bit of. We're going to follow, we can have some Allie's going to give us some structures, some handouts, so that we can follow in some ways the structure of the poem, and not asking you to write an entire poem as long as American Beech. But what we're doing is following in many ways the style and form and content of that poem. So in groups of, how many of us are in here? Maybe groups of 3, I think, might be workable. Groups of 3, so that we have a pair and then some. I want you to think about a moment of joyous touch. So we talked a little bit, Yalie and I talked a little bit about the ways sometimes touch can feel like an affront, and also the ways that we've been devoid of this kind of simple, everyday joyous touch for the past few years. And in your groups of 3, I'd like you to review the poem. Think amongst yourselves also about a very small moment that you can highlight, and I'm sure you'll find as you talk to each other that there is some kind of communal moment there, that we have so many of the same experiences, even though we might not have ever met the other person that you're working with before coming into this room. So you'll spend a little bit of time talking amongst yourselves, and then you will create 2 lines, 2 simple lines. They don't have to be a sentence. They don't have to be long lines. They don't have to be verbose in any way. Just 2 lines that highlight this particular experience that you come to with your group members or team members. And then once, I think the interns are walking around with some sheets of paper that you can jot down your lines on. And then we will have access to a Padlet. Have any of you ever used Padlet before? Those of you who are in my class probably have. Once you have done your 2 lines, you will type them into Padlet, and we will be able to see through the magic of technology what we are able to create together. Okay, does anyone have any questions?
So the Padlet will be a QR code
Yes.
that's on there.
There will be a QR code for Padlet on here. But before we even get into the technology, let's start with our very analog selves. We have the opportunity to be back together face to face, so we will talk face to face a little bit, and then also do some jotting and writing on paper. And then once we get to either you feel like you are ready or we are out of time, I will ask you to type into Padlet your 2 lines. You can designate someone as your group typist.
So I'm gonna reassure you, this works. It worked last year. You might feel like, what else? It worked amazingly. And Professor Wins has done this over and over again, and she reassured me, and I thought, there's no way this is gonna work. But it actually worked last year, so I'm completely confident that it will work again. And it comes together, like, incredibly so. So since these chairs are movable, I invite you to go ahead and kind of spread out, move around a little bit, or if you want to go sit outside and do little clusters of 3. How long?
We have about 10 minutes or so to write together. I also challenge you to find someone for your cluster of 3 that you did not walk in here with. Maybe someone that you don't know, maybe, not the person that said come to this event with me. Someone else.
10 minutes, and then please do come back. It works.
Alright, are we all done? Are we ready to see what magic we've created together? Ready? Okay. And we have the joy of having Yalie read for us.
y'all doing? Good? So happy to read this world premiere. So a touch, a work on Yalie Saweda Kamara's American Beech. To consider the tender body in space, arm in arm, accidental, fingers brush, soft bristle, swiped across an eye, level with my nose. A fragmented stem parts hair with a silver stroke. Fingers brushing, overlapping with the heat of the coffee cup, hands touching in transaction, in shared carrying. We miss the warmth of care and labor. Without this touch, we cannot be reminded of home, brought back to the warmth of a loved one. A drowsy head finding solace of shoulder, over the glass window, frosted and rattling. Your arms a respite from the bite of the cool, crisp air, a haven for my longing heart, buzzing with excitement, fingers brushed my thigh, a search for security, rebuckled seatbelts, a strap-in for the adventure to come. A quiet sting sings within my nervous palm, sweat ensembles with brown and green needles twirling around me as they dance in the wind that now calls me home. Dream softens the hardwood of your room from mine. Put your benign hands on my shoulders and roll me to the door, because I still feel mommy's kiss on my cheek and benediciones in my heart. Anemone fingers, hands break through the sea of me meets the sea of you. Anemone fingers intertwine, something of yours, something of mine. Remember me, whether I'm near or far. There's a slick touch, turn around and calming home moment between the condensation and us. The moment remains submerged in my memory, but at the time it kept me afloat. That passive moment when all you did was extend your hand. I know that we're connected when apart, but still, when we're together, I celebrate with touch. Soft pressed celebration, sonic deflation, stops a moment rewound, rewoven, crisp clap to a second excitation. Her hands are shaky, but hold me strong. I savor the way my nanny engulfs me before it's gone. The crowd that mindlessly puts a title to my name. I am a puppet with a purpose, but another man's definition. Same blood, different bodies reconnecting for an instant, hearts beating in unison, rhythm unbroken by distance. God rut in myrrh, mix salah, like wrought copper morning, press hand to chest and push yourself up, drop down into a thoughtful feeling, closeness into sleep, a novice friendship where boundaries remain unclear, open arms are where nostalgia may appear, the relief of your touch, the reassurance of your breath. How mighty the God portal of human touch.
That was amazing. Thank you, Yalie, and thank you all so much for trusting yourselves and the process. This is just beautiful. I will hand over.
I want to say thank you again to Yalie and to Christine. Participating in the game. We're going to publish the poem on our Meridians website, so you'll all be published authors. Give us your names, we'll put your names on them. Before we break, I wanted to ask Professor Witt what she's teaching next semester, so in case you haven't taken a class with her yet, you'll know what's possible. And I'll tell you that I'm teaching a class called The Sociological Imagination, SOCI 246, which is based entirely on memoir, reading memoirs sociologically. Because I'm a secret English major. Teresa, what are you teaching?
I'm teaching, can I take the class? I'm teaching anthropology and the African diaspora, AFR 202, and it's thinking about anthropology's relationship to Africa and the diaspora broadly, and we read things from all over the diaspora and think really broadly about that, and also I ask you for some of the things that you're interested in. And then I'm teaching a seminar, Race, Sex, and Tourism, which is all of the things it says, because tourism is about race and sex. And that is AFR 366, and I look forward to seeing some of you in class, hopefully.
Before we wrap completely, does anybody have a question you want to ask publicly of Yalie or of me about Meridians? I want to give you that opportunity. No? All right, then we'll hang out for a few few minutes, and you're welcome to come up and speak to us personally. Thank you all again. Happy Cromwell Day.